Hey guys, welcome back. This is Coach Alligood. Just want to do a quick review over Alexander and introduce your project for today. So, as we see on the first slide, this is a map of Alexander's conquest. We've been talking about Alexander and the many positive things that he's done, but we also know there are many negatives that occurred as well. We must realize that although Alexander is named the Great, the question is, does he actually deserve that title? We're going to find out today. So let's look into our section that we have. So the next slide that we have is part one. I'm going to have a part two project that we're going to embark on, in which you are going to decipher the focus question: does Alexander actually deserve the title of the Great? Now, part one, what we're going to do is we're going to divide up in groups as we already are, and you're going to be given 8 primary sources through the ThingLink application that you will go through with your group. Now, as you go through these documents and read each document, you will look at 3 questions, answering 3 questions on each of these documents on your Google Doc that is shared between your group. The questions include: number 1, who wrote it and what was the purpose? Number 2, what is the author's point of view? And 3, name 2 to 3 specific examples of Alexander's positive or negative behavior depending on the document itself. So, guys, what I want you to understand, this is going to be gathering your evidence. This is one of the most important parts of this project, because if this part is not done correctly, part 2 will be very difficult to do. We've all done this before, but we want to make sure that we are gathering pertinent information for our next part, which is, of course, a constructive response. Now, this will be done individually, in which you must, it says on the board, write at least 10 sentences. This is a 2-paragraph essay or a 2-paragraph response, okay, over the focus question. Now, the focus question is opinionated, but you have to provide factual information in order to back up your claims. You can't just simply say yes or no without any context, okay? The sources that you gathered in part 1 will be the sources you use in part 2. So, theoretically, you do a good job in part 1. Part 2 is really not that difficult if you look at it. Number 3, let's look at this rubric. All right, so I have on the right side right here the categories that we have. And of course, to reach mastery, right, all the questions were answered in full with 2 to 3 specific quotes. That is a minimum. You can have, of course, a maximum. The second thing, the written response was clear and fully answered. I want those things clear. Clearly answering the focus question, clearly looking at the evidence, and should not be confusing for the reader. Number 3, 3 or more references were used, minimum. 2 paragraphs were present, and of course, spelling errors were minimum. All right, now, if we look at the next thing I want to show you is the ThingLink, okay? So when we look at the ThingLink and what we have, this is what it's going to look like, guys. You're going to go through, and you're going to have different, of course, numbers that you're going to go through. You're going to start with the introduction. This is the YouTube video, okay? So this is a little bit of intro to our video, and then we're going to click on number 1. So if we click on number 1 here, and we, of course, go, it will take you to a document, okay? These are the documents that you will read and that you will answer the 3 questions towards. This should be very simple. These documents aren't very long. They're not meant to be long, but they're there meant to give a opinion. So if we look at the first one and we look and we say anonymous author, well, there's no author. So for the question 1 that you would put on your primary source questions would be no author. And of course, we could say that it was translated by Ilo Davies. Now, if we look at his campaigns, we're going to read one line. Alexander boasted he won many victories for himself alone, became more cruel to his friends as his success increased. This is just one line, but we can deduce that probably this is a negative light. We're looking for evidence throughout every one of these articles, right, that I'm going to give you in this ThingLink in order to gather that evidence. I hope this helps as we go forward, guys. If there are any questions that arise or that are needed, of course, I'm going to be there to help. But let's ensure that we do anything correct. Thank you.